Thank you, Catherine. This is an update only item. Any board comment here in San Francisco? Any board comment in Sacramento? Any public comment in Sacramento? Any online comment?
We have that.
That concludes the public affairs.
Thank you, Alan.
Your caretaker.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move now to item H, the legislation portion of the agenda, which I will turn over to our Legislative Committee Chair Miguel Galarza.
Thank you, Chair Tiger. The legislative update begins on page 163 of our packet. The first agenda item for discussion is item A, authority to automatically impose license revocation for failure to complete terms and conditions of probation. This legislative proposal arose out of the board's approval of Enforcement Committee's recommendation to implement strategic objectives 2.1, which is as follows. Leverage current enforcement tools to increase licensee and business knowledge by requiring contractors subject to CSLB corrective actions to take specific courses. At the August 2022 meeting, the board approved the Enforcement Committee's recommendation to request legislative proposals authorizing CSLB to automatically revoke a license subject to formal disciplinary order. The receiving respondent did not complete a specific instructional course. To implement this request, staff has drafted the legislative proposal in your book on page 164 of your packet. The proposal would codify CSLB's existing disciplinary probation authority in CSLB's Practice Act and provide that failure to complete probation by taking specific courses or examinations resulting in reimposing revocation. I would now ask staff to please explain the proposal. Mike or David?
Sure. Thank you, Committee Chair Galarza. So this proposal looks a lot more complicated than it is. I'll try to be pretty straightforward here. So this arose out of, as the Committee Chair stated, Strategic Objective 2.1, which was to require contractors take courses as a result of disciplinary action. And that was the goal on the field. Then we started researching this and we realized we need to get on the field a little bit closer before we get to the goal to figure out these laws. So what we have here is in this law book, we have a number of disciplinary guidelines that are in our regulations, which say we have a minimum penalty and a maximum penalty. And all of our minimum penalties include the authority to provide probation instead of an accusation, or instead of revoking a license, we can stay the revocation and provide a couple years probation. So that's all fine and good. Those are in our regulations. Well, we also have the government code, which provides that all license boards can stay a revocation by doing probation, but our laws reference the government code, but they don't actually state that CSLB can put a licensee on probation. And if you look at this proposal, we've got lots of boards and bureaus that say that. So we want to join them. So that's kind of the first part. Then once we clarify that existing authority, we can then go to all these disciplinary guidelines where it says, if you haven't taken a course in 5 years, take the course. Pass the law and business exam. We have all these terms, but we haven't really been able to expressly enforce them. And also, if a licensee doesn't complete the courses currently, because of the lack of express authority, there's not a lot we can do if the exam isn't passed. We have to either reinstate the license at the end of the probationary period, or we do another accusation and pay the AG to have a hearing on just the course. So that's where we're at. And these laws exist in various places. Like I said, we've got the authority to reimpose revocation. In our regulations, we can do it if they don't pay restitution, but that's not in our statute. It's just a big, it's a big effort to bring in different authority that exists early in the VMP code, in the APA, the Administrative Procedures Act, and the Government Code, and in CSLB's regulations, put it all in one place, and implement the strategic objective. So that's kind of the rundown. I can answer any questions, but that's the proposal.
Thank you, Mike. So as I understand it, the staff recommendations is that the board approve sponsorship of a legislative proposal that would codify CSLB's existing disciplinary probation authority in CSLB's Practice Act and provide that failure to complete probation by taking specific courses or examinations resulting in reimposing revocation. Further, authorize staff to secure a legislative author and work with the proposed language and stakeholders as appropriate to facilitate the passage of the described proposal throughout the legislature. Are there any comments from the board in Sacramento regarding this item?
I apologize, Community Chair, I left out an important part. The fiscal impact is none. Our strategic plan was to make sure that we're doing our due diligence with fiscal impacts. It's hot off the press, it's not in the packet. We have this authority and this ability already, so I apologize for interrupting. There is no anticipated fiscal impact for this proposal.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments from Sacramento board? Any comments from the San Francisco board? Jason, are there any comments from the public or WebEx in either San Francisco or Sacramento?
You have none online.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the public from Sacramento? I think I said that already. All right. Can I have a motion from the board?
So moved.
Second was Guy. Thank you, Guy. Mariah, could you please call roll?
Mary Tykert.
Aye.
Rodney Cobos, approved absence. David De La Torre.
Aye.
Miguel Galarza.
Aye.
Susan Granzella.
Aye.
Alan Guy.
Aye.
Jacob Lopez.
Aye.
Diana Love.
Aye.
Michael Mark.
Aye.
Steve Pinelli.
Aye.
James Ruane.
Aye.
Johnny Simpson.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mariah. The next item on the agenda is to authorize or the authority to require applicants and licensees to report their current email address to the board at the time of application and renewal. If you'd be so kind as to turn your booklet to page 167 of the packet, it will describe the legislative proposal to require licensees and the license and register holder to provide their email address, if available, at the time of the initial licensure and renewal of the board. Staff reports that this proposal is largely based on a recent bill that Senate Bill 1120, which was successfully passed through the legislature and was signed by the governor in 2022. SB 1120 was sponsored by the Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors and Geologists, alongside the California Land Surveyors Association, which in part required licensees to provide email addresses to the board. The bill received no opposition, and according to the legislature, other boards and bureaus within the DCA have worked to update outdated communication requirements in recent years. It should be noted there were some comments from the public that I'm going to recite as follows. As a licensed contractor, I renew my license and conduct paper-based business with the board to maintain my license. As more and more forms and applications are placed online, more and more people are doing business electronically, including myself. I think it would be extremely helpful to licensees if the board had their email address and was authorized to share important business with licensees by mail. You'll note that this proposal protects the email addresses by exempting it from Public Records Act. David or Michael, would you please be so kind to elaborate?
Yes, this one is very straightforward. The language is copied from the bill that the land surveyors got through, tweak a little bit for CSLB. We mentioned earlier in the licensing update, we sent out 25,000 letters to tell licensees a couple of weeks before their insurance was due that there was a bill that affected their insurance. Now, that was all paper-based. Of course, we alerted licensees and the public through our website for months and board meetings for months, over a year, about this proposal coming. But licensees only learn about that if they tune into board meetings or if they subscribe to our listserv. The ones that don't learn about this important information late. This bill would allow us to collect the email address and not provide it if it's requested as a part of a PRA. The fiscal impact requires some programming. Total cost, staff cost with benefits is approximately $8,100. It's about 90 hours of work to figure out mainframes, email addresses, etc. That's the rundown, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
I have a quick question on, can I ask, this is Mary Tyker, can I ask a quick question on fiscal impact? So it seems like it would also have a beneficial impact if we don't have to mail things. Is that offsetting, or are we gonna still mail and email?
I think what the board would do is set a policy or do regulations to clarify, hey, what are we emailing? What are we mailing? We're not spamming here. That's not what we're gonna do. But there's important information that needs to go out, and we can figure that out.
Mike, what do we spend with postage and staff time to mail 29,000 letters? Wasn't it like 45 cents a letter?
Yeah, I know if it was all of our licensed population, it would be about $300,000. This was about.
This is a real cost saver.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's an excellent point. It's a more detailed fiscal analysis would provide the offset costs, saving money if not mailed.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as I understand it, the staff recommendations is that the board approves sponsorship of a legislative proposal to require license and registration holders to provide their email addresses, if available, at the time of initial licensure and renewal to the board. Further authorize staff to secure a legislative author and work with the proposed language and stakeholders as appropriate to facilitate the passage of the described proposal through the legislature. At this point, I welcome comments from the Sacramento board. Some comments from the San Francisco board.
Yeah, again, David Del Torre. I think it's very pragmatic. I mean, now we're in the 21st century. Everything's electronic. I hate to impact anybody's livelihood by because mail handlers are important to our communities, but I think it'd be very cost effective and prudent to communicate and get important information out through email. So, yeah, that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, David. Any other comments? Jason, are there comments from the public or WebEx, either here or in Sacramento?
We have none.
Are there any comments from the public in Sacramento? No. Okay. And therefore, I'd like to have a motion from the board.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, Bill.
Pinelli. Steve Pinelli, second.
Thank you. That hence, Mariah, would you please call roll?
Mary Tyker,
Aye.
Rodney Cobos, approved absence. David De La Torre,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Alan Guy.
Aye.
Jacob Lopez.
Aye.
Diana Love.
Aye.
Michael Mark.
Aye.
Steve Pinelli.
Aye.
James Ruane.
Aye.
Johnny Simpson.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mariah. That concludes the legislative committee update. Back to you, Chair Tiger.
Thank you, Miguel. So this concludes the legislative and regulatory portion of the agenda, and all we have remaining is a closed session, which we will move to conduct an evaluation of the performance of the registrar. This will be our last item for the day. This item is not available for viewing by the public. After closed session, we will briefly reconvene in open session and adjourn. And we will, let's see, and I now ask that the webcast and phone meeting be turned off. We will return from closed session to adjourn. However, the adjournment will not be live streamed. So at this time, we'll take 10 minutes prior to beginning the closed session to ensure the public is cleared from the webcast and both public rooms in Sacramento and San Francisco are cleared.